I'm Renee. Welcome to my art room where I have a fun time creating art and playing with paint, jelly prints, stencils, all kinds of fun things. I'm so grateful that you're here today and I hope that you will enjoy today's video. I am doing another in my Color Cube 500 series where I am painting my way through Sarah Renee Clark's Color Cube Volume 1. And today's card is number 11, which is super fun. Very light, very bright, great colors. If you've been following my 500 series so far, you'll know that this mustard color has shown up in a lot of the color palettes. It's a color I don't have, and so I've mixed my own. I looked into some different color options. I mixed it inside this bottle, which is why you can see some of it's not mixed all the way. It is yellow and purple, and I think that it's going to be a really good match. It might be slightly on the darker side. I wish I had chosen to mix it in a different container. I'm not sure why I thought this was the great idea because it's very narrow in the tip. So it's hard to get in there and stir and shake, and you can see it's not all mixed. But I have some mustard. For the rest of my colors, for clay, I'm going to substitute this bronze. I just don't have a lot of brown. And I like the bronze metallic. It's a great neutral and adds a pop of fun and color. For raspberry, I have vermilion. I feel like vermilion has also been used quite a lot in these videos. I have literally 2 bottles or 2 tubes of orange in everything that I have. I have no orange. I never paint with orange ever. So I swatched them, and this cadmium orange is much lighter. It's kind of like a pumpkin-y color, and this, which is Master's Touch, is a much darker orange, which I think lends itself better. This is an orange that looks like it's had some black mixed in. So we're going with this one. And for olive, I have cactus green, which also I've used quite a lot. So this is a fun tool to come up with some color palettes, and I'm excited to see what happens this time. I recently made this little art book, which was inspired by Denise Love. If you are not aware of her channel, go check it out. She does a lot of great painting, and she works a lot with watercolors, but she made these little books. I've seen her make quite a few, and they turn out gorgeous. So I thought we would do it again. I'm using this mixed media pad. It is 17 by 14 and 110 pounds. It's made by Fabriano. I got it at Hobby Lobby in the United States. So that's the Hobby Lobby, the Master's Touch brand. And so I'm going to paint my one sheet, and then in the end, I fold it and create a little book. I'm also going to pull out some stencils to use like I've used in this one. This was a really fun little project. So let's get started. All right, I am going to start off with some mark making. This is just a pencil, and I like to scribble. This one is a tempera paint stick. It's a metallic color, so it fits in with my bronze. And this one is just a yellow woody. It's water soluble, so it'll continue to move if activated by liquid until it's sealed into the paper. So the first thing I do is take some titanium white and just start to cover that woody with a thin layer of paint so that as I add more and more layers, it's not going to spread too much. And because I'm really excited about it, I start with my mustard. And ta-da! It's like the perfect mustard color. So out of the bottle, I'm pretty sure I added a tiny bit of white to this to make it just a bit brighter. And it's like the perfect mustard color. So I'm really happy with that. Yellow and purple make mustard. So more yellow, less purple. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a very dark brown, which is maybe a burnt mustard. Here I'm just scratching into the paint and creating some marks and some lines, and now I'm coming in with the bronze. And as I'm doing this, I decide I really like the way the yellow and the bronze are looking together. They just coordinate really well, and it sparked my imagination and my creativity. And so I decide to go ahead and make this whole bottom layer is just going to be the mustard and the bronze. And I mix the colors together, both mustard and bronze together, and I mix more white in it. So there's a variety of colors, but it's still just focused on the mustard and the bronze together. And yeah, I think I'm just really celebrating how well that mustard mix turned out, because I have been struggling with that color. Occasionally, especially if I'm doing an abstract, I like to turn the paper or the whatever I'm doing, the canvas, if I'm doing canvas, just so that I can get my eyes on the page in a different way. And here I'm just using my palette knife to add some more titanium white, and it looks like I've mixed it with the mustard because I've got now a really light mustard. So just creating some interest, some places where it's maybe a little more dark, a little more light. I'm overlapping the colors, and I'm gonna let that dry. So here I'm coming in with my stencils. These will all be listed in the description box below. That first one, the triangles, is leaves. This one here, this is tweed, and I don't remember the circle name right off the top of my head, so it will be listed in the description box below. So now I'm going to come in with my vermilion, and I wanted to let that first layer dry so that I wouldn't create orange. I wanted to really try and stick with the color palette that was suggested. And of course, you don't have to do this. If you have an interest in starting with these colors in the color palette and mixing them and creating other colors and just using it as a springboard for your creativity, of course, you can use it that way as well. For me, I'm trying to stay as true to the color palette as I can. And so I didn't want those yellow layers to mix with these layers that I'm adding to the top. And I like how these, using this blender brush turn, instead of being very clear circles, they're actually little kind of moon shapes, which is fun. So this is the leaves. This one is from Joggles. The circle one, I'm pretty sure, is a crafter's workshop, but again, it'll be in the description. And here I'm coming in with my green and just adding some more interest. I'm still at this point, I don't have a destination. I'm sort of along for the ride. And it looks like I've mixed some lighter greens and some darker greens. So I'm trying to create variety as I go along. And I'm just gonna trust myself in this process. it's still challenging for me to do, but I'm getting much better at trusting the process. I have been in the middle of some, paintings that I just thought were a complete disaster, and I wanted to give up and just send them to the bin, but I pressed forward and ended up creating some art that I really have loved. So I'm just going to trust myself, and maybe in the end this is going to be for the bin, or maybe in the end this is going to be something really special. I don't know yet. And when we fold this into the book squares, then you really I don't know where where it's going to end up. So it's exciting. So I'm continuing to change that green. I'm adding a little bit of white to it. Maybe I added some bronze to it. So I'm just changing the shade and the tone, and I'm layering them over each other just to create some interest. And um, and here's the tweed. This is a new stencil for me, and I've really enjoyed it. It creates some great marks, and I'm just coming in here with the straight titanium white acrylic paint to bring back some light values. And again, I'm just going on top of what I've already done. I'm really spreading it around. It looks like it's picked up some of the vermilion because it's slightly pink. And here this one looks a little bit more white again. It could be that vermilion, the circles in vermilion are not completely dry. And here I'm coming in with vermilion to make some interesting shapes. I just love this one. This makes a really, really cool pattern in the background. I'm really happy with it. And I'm trying to think also of like creating it in different angles. So I'm turning it so it's not all laying down in this exact same way. And that definitely looks like I've mixed some paint, maybe a little bit of the mustard in, but the vermilion is still predominantly coming on top. And I'm gonna let this dry. So I come back to my color palette, and I was really inspired by those circles, the fruit. And so I decide to add some circles. And this is just a drawing tool. It is a stencil, but it's intended to, draw perfect circles. So I'm hijacking it for my artwork here. And I love it because there's lots of different sizes of circles. So I'm trying to create a variety. I'm putting them, kind of at odds with each other. Those first circles were the bronze, and now I've gone back to vermilion. So here's some small circles. I'm doing some big circles, and I'm layering them on top of the stencils that I've already got. And just I've got that color card off to the side, so I'm looking at it and I'm taking the inspiration of those circles and including them in this work here. I think it looks great. And here I'm adding some green. I was a little concerned when I started adding the green that maybe it was looking too Christmassy with the red, which is the vermilion, and the green and the white, and the circles being maybe Christmas baubles, and the triangles maybe representing Christmas trees. So I was a little concerned that maybe it had gone into the realm of Christmas. But the more I painted, and sort of the more chaotic the paper became, I caught onto a feeling more of a circus. I'm not sure at what point along the way I really started feeling that sort of vintage circus feel, but I definitely started to lean into it. And so, some of the gaiety and the chaos and the bright lights, the circles, being the rings, the circus rings, all kinds of wonderful things. So here I'm just adding some embellishments, some little marks and scribbles. And I'm doing this now much more intentionally than when I first put down those layers in pencil and in crayon. Those were just random scribbles. I knew that they were not going to make a huge impact on the final piece, and so I could be extremely random. Now I'm trying to be more thoughtful about what I'm doing. This is a Stabilo All pencil. This is one of my favorite art supplies, along with this water pen. They just create together this beautiful painterly look. And when I start, I'm thinking more about creating kind of a shadow around or an outline around these circles. And I'm being very careful and very neat. And then as I go along, I start to abandon that and just let it go a little bit more messy. The lines are not perfect. They're not perfectly centered. And I'll even go back. You'll see me go back and even add some, sort of out of the lines to those top ones. But the Stabilo All with the water pen will dry and it just looks beautiful and painterly. And it's such a beautiful effect. I just love it. So I use this combo quite a lot. And you can be very precise with it, even though I'm being quite messy here. And but you can use it very effectively to make shadows and to do some very delicate work. So it's a great tool. Two great tools. And here I'm just shading in, just again, so that we have a variety of colors. And I decide to add some lines. And you're going to see me do quite a few lines. And again, it's just, I draw them in with the pencil and I cover over them with the water pen so that it'll just spread those lines and break them up a tiny bit. And I'm just choosing random circles to highlight. And again, I still don't have a clear idea of what this book is going to look like once it's done. But I like the idea of the circus and sort of the randomness and the bright lights shining. And even though these marks are dark, they could represent lights or streamers. I don't know, they could represent stripes in the canvas if it's a circus tent. This one I have to laugh. As I work on it, I start feeling like this looks like a spider. So even though he's got too many legs to be a spider, I just really felt like, oh, this guy looks like there's a spider on my circus wall here in my circus tent. There's a spider. So I kept trying to like maybe lengthen out the lines to disrupt so that it didn't look too even all the way around. I'm like, well, maybe it could be a sun instead of a spider. I don't know. I still laugh because I do feel like it still has some feeling of being a spider. And here I'm just wiping off the paint that's on the tip, the pigment that's on the tip on, just to add a few more little lines. This one goes out of shot for part of it. This is quite a big piece of paper for the space I have. My space is kind of limited. So yeah. Now that Stabilo All is water soluble, as I showed you. I'm just showing you now the up close. I love how the lines blur and just look real painterly. So I have to let that dry, but even dry, they're going to reactivate. So you're going to see in a minute that I have a fixative that I'm going to use. But because I've blurred those lines with water, the surface is quite liquid. And when I spray the fixative, I just didn't think it through. The fixative is also very liquidy. And you can see already those lines blurred. And it turned into a mess. And I was really unhappy with it. And so here I'm trying to mop up all of the liquid. I think if I had let the water dry down before I sprayed it, I would not have had this problem. But this is a new fixative to me. So I'm still learning, how to use it effectively. And here I just decide to cut my losses, and I am removing the color from those lines. But you can see that it did actually fix some of those lines in place, even though now they're quite faint. They're really pushed into the background. But you see, I'm also rubbing on top of those circles, which I did first. And so those circles had a chance to dry down before I sprayed the fixative. And you can see I've wiped over that green circle there, and the lines haven't moved. So I think the straight lines, the stripes that I added, just hadn't had enough time to dry. So now I'm just adding some more pigment, and I'm rubbing it in, and I'm rubbing some of it off, and I'm just spreading it around really loosely to add it. It feels sort of like I create a vintage spread, like it's got some age to it as I add the pigment and I scratch it and rub it, and just sort of let it become. So here I'm coming in with some white, which I guess I didn't like, and now I've added a little bit more of that mustard. And I'm not wiping the color out completely, but I am blending it in, I'm rubbing it in, I'm spreading it out. Some of the paint is being picked up, but some of the paint is being rubbed deeper. Some of those scratches that I made early on, I'm rubbing it into those scratches, which will make it really interesting. So here it is dry, and now I'm going to fold it. This is just a bit of wax paper that is going to help protect. So as I was rubbing it, some of those dots that I put on with the paint marker were coming off, so they weren't completely dry. So I stopped the camera and let those dry a little bit more so that they dried down completely. And here is where the magic begins. So I'm going to make a cut down this center piece that's only cut in the center. And this is how you make your book. So here it is. I'm going to flip this around a few times and try to decide which way I like to be up. And I am feeling the circus vibes. Oh my gosh, you guys. I am so happy. Okay, this is like sped up 10 times. This is just me putting glue stick all over the back, everywhere, all over. And then I fold the book into its little pages and press them all down. I could not be happier. I'm so excited as I'm looking at this. Oh my gosh, the pages are perfect. So here I've decided that I want this to be my cover. So I'm just gonna make an extra tight fold here and make that my spine. I am in love. I'm so happy with this book. So now that I've got all the pages folded, I'm going to just cut the edges. Now you can let all of the papers dry, all the pages dry before you do this. While they're wet, the paper, or with all that glue, they're wet. And so then the paper is a little bit more fragile and can be a little bit sticky. So you just have to be really careful as you cut it. But I want to see the finished product. I am so happy with this. Oh, it's just absolutely stunning. And this one looks like the big top tent. So I'm showing you, this is how I'm going to let it dry. And I'm going to do one more step with this watercolor marker. I'm just going to paint the edges. It adds to that vintage feel. It just makes it a little bit less white, less pristine, and I do all of the edges. And then I'm going to let it dry like that. And here it is. It's so pretty. I love this one, is my favorite. It reminds me of the big top tent. So here is my circus creation. Thank you for being here today. I've made more fun videos for you to enjoy. So please go and enjoy them. Consider subscribing and liking, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.